Well, you alluded to what the Republicans in the House appear to be on the verge of doing, which is removing Congresswoman Liz Cheney from her role as the conference chair.
We're probably going to get that next week. I will totally carry that live.
New York Congresswoman,
But that might be something that happens in like a committee session. We might not get to see that process.
So they have the right to do this. What's your take on it?
But we're looking like midweek next week.
I don't get involved in their caucus, and they don't get involved in mine. But when I do speak to the fact that Liz Cheney has been very courageous in speaking truth about what happened.
Also, Liz Cheney is not our friend. She is still a far-right fucking nut job, the daughter of Dick Cheney.
Liz Cheney is doing is indicative. What they're doing to her is indicative of what they're doing about the entire event that happened on January 6th. They're, again, in denial when we talk about what the architect of the Capitol wants to do to strengthen the physical structure of the Capitol. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? All they want to do is...
Well, it's getting kind of old.
...spent on the day of. It's really important. I don't want to be a fearmonger about this, but nothing less is at stake than our democracy.
Any comment on Elise Stefanik?
That's really up to them. I don't know. Maybe she's more, shall we say, compliant. It's not my business. I don't really know her, and I don't. As I say, they don't get involved.
Let me.
So that's the comment right there. Elise Stefanik took issue with. Now earlier today, Stefanik's communication director was temporarily suspended from Twitter. Twitter temporarily suspended the account of communications director for GOP rep Elise Stefanik late Wednesday, reinstating it Thursday morning. Caroline Levitt, Stefanik's communications director, in an interview with Fox News Tuesday morning, said she was given no explanation from Twitter after she was locked out of her account. So Levitt, who worked at the White House during the Trump administration, said her last posts were all related to Stefanik's efforts to replace Representative Liz Cheney as House Republican Conference chair, including a retweet of a post previewing Stefanik's interview on Steve Bannon's show. How is that motherfucker not in prison? She is more compliant. That's exactly. She's not going to buck the part. That is literally why they're replacing her. Liz Cheney is stepping out of line with the Republican Party. Levitt also told Fox News she tweeted out a link to former President Trump's new communications platform from the desk of Donald J. Trump. Twitter also suspended that account. An account pulled from Twitter for appearing to belong to former President Donald Trump's newly launched communications platform was not created by the ex-commander-in-chief's team, the Post has learned. The plot thickens. The 45th president on Tuesday revealed his new website from the desk of Donald J. Trump, which allows him to provide his thoughts in Twitter-style posts, which can be shared on social media sites from which he has been banned. The site is meant to serve as a place to speak freely and safely, a statement from the Trump team said. An account appearing to belong to the former president's new platform, DJT Desk, emerged on the social media site shortly after, but a source close to Team Trump told the Post that the account was not created by anyone on President Trump's team. I'm sure it wasn't. It was probably created by one of the super PACs that doesn't actually work with him. Twitter 100% in the right for suspending it. By the way, right-wingers constantly like, it can happen to you. It can happen to you. So I would like to point out, it already happened to me years ago, motherfuckers. I've been suspended from Twitter for years, and I didn't incite a riot against this country. So shut the fuck up. If we are applying Twitter rules evenly, the president should have been banned long before I was banned. Platform permanently banned the then president following the January 6th Capitol riot that we have covered in depth. The social media bans are seeing a positive effect. Coming to us from Vox, this article says, here's just how much people have stopped talking about Trump on Facebook and Twitter. I'm your friend and I'm banned. Donald Trump used to be everywhere on social media, but lately it feels like he's nowhere. Many have noted just how little people have been talking about Trump, from cable news to Google searches, since he lost the election. The numbers are startling. Mentions of Trump went down by 34% on Twitter and 23% on Facebook the week after he was banned. Trump mentions have continued to decline around 90% on both platforms from where they were the week of the riots. Now, I'm sure they were up at that time as well. He was getting ready to leave office. We were all talking about him. And also, a lot of it is, a lot of the mentions of Trump were people like me, you guys, people on the other side mocking him for saying stupid shit everywhere. I haven't been banned in a while, actually. I have been very good on the current Facebook account that I hold. Of course, it's impossible to divorce the decline in the Trump conversation from the fact that he's no longer president. Also a contributing factor, I'm sure. But we always have the specter of Trump hanging over us. Currently, we have the recount going on in Arizona, where the Arizona Republican Party has hired a firm that is very pro-Trump, pro-conspiracy theory, to audit the results of the Arizona vote in Maricopa County. The U.S. Justice Department is worried about the Arizona vote recount. The DOJ wants to guarantee that federal law is followed, which seems perfectly reasonable now, doesn't it? The U.S. Department of Justice expressed concern Wednesday about ballot security and potential voter intimidation arising from the Republican-controlled Arizona Senate's unprecedented private recount of the 2020 presidential election results in Maricopa County, specifically the urban area where Phoenix is. In a letter to GOP Senate President Karen Fann, the head of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division said that the Senate's farming out of 2.1 million ballots from the state's most populous county to a contractor may run afoul of federal law requiring ballots to remain in control of election officials for 22 months. And Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General Pamela S. Carlin said that the Senate's contractors' plans to directly contact voters could amount to illegal voter intimidation. Right-wingers are shameless. Absolutely shameless. Let me give you another example of it. Republicans that voted against COVID relief, against the Biden stimulus plan, are promoting it like they did vote for it. Because of course they are. This is coming to us from the Associated Press. Representative Nicole Miliatakis said it pained her to vote against the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. But in the weeks that followed, the first-term Republican issued a news release celebrating the more than $3.7 million from the package that went to community health centers in her district as one of her achievements. She said she prided herself on bringing federal funding to the district and back into the pockets of taxpayers. Every Republican in Congress voted against the sweeping pandemic relief bill that President Joe Biden signed into law 3 months ago. But since the early spring votes, Republicans from New York and Indiana to Texas and Washington have promoted elements of the legislation that they fought to defeat. The Republicans' favorite provisions repeat a tiny sliver of the massive law, which represent a tiny sliver of the massive law, which sent $1,400 checks to millions of Americans, extended unemployment benefits until September, increased the child tax credit, offered housing assistance to millions of low-income Americans, and expanded health care coverage. All things Republicans are always against. Republicans tried to negotiate a smaller package, arguing that Biden's plan was too expensive and not focused on the nation's health and economic crisis. Democrats are promising to make the pandemic relief vote and the Republican resistance to it a central element in their political strategy moving into next year's midterm elections. Guys, we're starting to ramp up into the talk about the midterms. People are starting to announce their candidacy and shit. GOP lawmakers have been especially bullish about promoting the Rescue Plan's Restaurant Revitalization Fund, which devoted $28.6 billion to struggling industries. To the struggling industry. I'm not high enough for this shit. Applications to the program reopened this week. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, a Republican from California, topped a group of at least 8 Republicans who have encouraged constituents to apply in recent days. The Independent Restaurant Coalition acknowledged the Republicans' awkward position, but offered its thanks anyway. The GOP ultimately benefited politically from uniting against the massive economic stimulus package signed into law by President Barack Obama in 2009. Republicans scored massive gains in the House and Senate the following year. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. There's a good chance that Democrats lose the House, but if Trump keeps sticking his nose into races, it's probably going to be a benefit. And it looks like Trump's going to do it. Apparently, Trump rallies restart this month. And if the Democrats can do something with the messaging about how hypocritical right-wingers are,